All right, on to the next question, which is from Christian F. The first part is, what's the latest on the rumors of adding Star Wars and Marvel characters to Walt Disney World?
Um, Star Wars.
Specifically, the Christian specifically asks about Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. So, isn't that where they were going to do the Marvel stuff?
Okay, we're talking Magic Kingdom, Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're still in negotiations with Universal, or Walt Disney is. And they haven't found enough common turf yet. I mean, there's a language in the master licensing agreement that Marvel signed with Universal. This is, I think, 96, 97.
Mm-hmm.
It clearly states that they can't do our Marvel attraction. No one can do a Marvel attraction within 250 miles of the Universal Orlando Resort. I mean, that's just ironclad language. There's no wiggle room there. It's not a question of, well, we own the rights to these characters. And I mean, it's not the situation like, 20th Century Fox owning the Fantastic Four, or Sony owning Spider-Man.
Right.
It's one of these situations where it's these are strictly theme park rights, and it's not for lack of trying. I mean, Disney keeps making runs at Comcast, and that they keep looking for something that they might consider parting with, and in turn, what would NBC Universal be interested in? There's I don't know if you saw the story. The New York Times did this probably a week to 10 days ago,
Mm-hmm.
where they were talking about how it was one of these sort of reading the tea leaves kind of stories. Basically, the Katie Couric show that
Right. With that Yahoo guy, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is the Katie Couric show that was created 2 years ago, that was intended to be the replacement for Oprah. Her hour made this ridiculous amount of money for the 8 ABC owned and operated stations in the country, in addition to all the other places it was syndicated to. Katie's show has kind of turned out to be a bust. The belief is now, particularly given that she signed her deal with Yahoo, that she's kind of headed out the door for Disney. And there's a lot of people in the industry who are pointing to the fact that Disney isn't developing a follow-up show for Katie, that they're not looking for something to fill that hour-long slot in the afternoon.
Okay.
So primo, and what they're extrapolating from that is that maybe Disney is looking to get out of the owning and operating television stations business.
Really?
Well, I mean, face it. How do you?
Television stations or networks? So like they own like KABC and
We're talking strictly stations.
okay,
You
stations. So they're going to
know,
get rid of their
and these are in major markets. This is New York. This is California. I mean, these are significant size stations, and it's not too difficult. You think about Universal's owned by Comcast. To imagine that Disney would be having the conversations with Comcast to the effect of like, look, how would you feel about 8 actual television stations? And what would you be willing to trade for those? I
interesting.
mean, think about the only other time they've done a deal, involving intellectual property was Al Michaels basically got swapped for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. So,
That's right. The trade. Yeah.
so this is probably because again, Disney doesn't necessarily want to spend big bucks to get the Marvel rights back. But it is problematic. I mean, when you work in the theme park world, I mean, take for example Universal. They've actually got 3 or 4 killer attractions in active development right behind Wizarding World Diagon Alley. They've got some, in fact, I was talking with somebody who was at IAPA and got into a couple of meetings and just said, these things are like science projects. I mean, these are involving technologies and things that people in theme park, the themed entertainment have always wanted to do, but nobody's been willing to try. And here's Comcast willing to throw big money at
Wow.
some next generation. But Universal. I mean, you think about it. How did we end up with the Transformers attraction? They made Singapore pay for it. that attraction was developed for that park, and then it came stateside, went to Hollywood,
Right.
and then it showed up in Orlando. What Universal supposedly wants to do is have its Russian theme park, the one that's in development now, pay for the development of these three giant new technologies and then walk them stateside. And to be honest, Disney does the same thing all the time. I mean,
Hong Kong developed something, or
there you
Tokyo.
go. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, take for example Mystic Manor that just opened at Hong Kong.
Right.
Supposedly in 5 years that will make the jump to the two stateside parks, but the agreement was to give them exclusivity on that ride system and those characters, at least for a while, to drive attendance, and then
And then
on
they'll
a
move it over.
new, there you go. So
Huh.
so
So that's
again,
that's east of the Mississippi. What about west of the Mississippi? Could you ever see Disney doing something for Star Wars or Marvel in Disneyland, or
there,
are they just too constrained by space?
well, um, that's where it gets interesting because you are talking about, um, again, in order for something to come in, something has to go out. And in fact, in regard to Star Wars, there have been a number of conversations about both the Autopia and the subs going in California being pulled out of Tomorrowland to
Mm,
create a giant piece of turf. Because I mean, that's the weird thing about Tomorrowland in California.
yeah.
It's really is hemmed in. I mean, if you've ever been backstage at Disneyland between Main Street and Tomorrowland, every inch of space back there is used. I mean, just I was back there for a press event recently, and they were bringing the Christmas parade in, and it was like, watching origami being made. Things would roll off stage and then just, be broken down to their smallest possible size, and people would run in different directions because there's another parade float coming right behind this.
That's hysterical.
Um, so, but, and, the weird thing of it is that the subs actually are going down for a lengthy refurbishment.
Is it a
Uh,
refurbishment like Fredo went on a boat ride?
well, this is, yeah, but see, the problem is somebody has to make the call to John Lasseter, because John Lasseter was the guy who, got them to spend $70 million to make, the Finding Nemo submarine voyage.
Yeah.
And switching over the engines. I mean, and that thing sat there empty for years. And so to just walk away from that opened in like 2008, didn't it? I mean, we were only like,
If yeah, 5 or 6 years into it. I
yeah.
think it'd be
So
something like, "Hey, John, how's it going? Can you send over a case of wine? By the way, we're taking out the Nemo subs. All right, thanks. Bye." That'd be it right there. Done.
and at the same time pulling out the Autopia
Autopia.
in Southern California, that the land that people, again, you're in California, you drive. In fact, that's where most people,
Flying cars. That's where the future is, Jim.
I don't know what to tell you. I have heard an interesting rumor that supposedly, to placate the people who will be upset when the Autopia gets pulled out, that they may put a small-ish Autopia in to Cars Land. That Guido, the
Oh,
floating
yeah.
tire, and it turns out right behind Guido is an expansion pad they've been holding open. That was
Yep.
originally where the what is it? The Sci-Fi Diner, drive-in diner, from Disney's Hollywood Studios was supposed to go. Only this was actually going to be rethemed as the drive-in that you see in Cars,
Hmm.
and serve food there. But the notion is, all right, let's take that pad, let's put a small Autopia in. That will placate, the people who will be upset if we rip out the Autopia. But um, what's complicated this is that they actually put a stop on development of Star Wars, but it was actually because of script issues with Episode 7. They
Oh, really?
they weren't happy with the first pass on the script, so they actually reached out to Lawrence Kasdan, who, if you know your Star Wars history, he was the guy who came in after Leah Brackett passed, and he was the guy who actually finished and retooled the script for Empire. So he's
The
kind of
last good
considered.
Star Wars movie.
Yeah. And no, that's exactly. So if we're going to
Everyone
do a
agrees.
new, let's get him in here. So, but the problem was that meant missing to get him to retool the script meant missing the May 2015 window, which now the film looks like it's now going to open holiday of 2015.
Sure.
And
Oh, so we got 2 years. Wow. It'll pass
yeah,
by.
okay, but at the same time, what Disney wants is when this opens, they want, it's sort of like with Phantom Menace. Everyone saw Phantom Menace like, oh, I want, to look at that cool Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
Please ignore the fact that they killed him. It's the notion is that when they open this land, when they open the new Star Wars land at Disney's Hollywood Studios and bring the other attractions online in California, they want to have elements from the classic Star Wars films, but they also want to have front and center characters and settings from 7. And it's hard for Imagineers to design things when
without a script.
There you go. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, but there's no way. Even if they brought in the backhoes today, Jim, and it's late December 2013, there is no way on God's green earth they have a Star Wars land up and running by 2015. It just there's no way. There's no way.
Well, now here's the interesting thing. There have actually been meetings about this lately because, face it, Disney is very adept at social media. More to the point, they are tracking what's said on discussion boards and in the media constantly. And there's now been a refrain to the effect of, why is it that a Universal can open a Transformers, can build, go from a flattened construction site to a full up and operating ride in 9 months, and we're talking Avatar opening in 17?
Yeah. No, 18. 18, I heard.
18. And it's one of these things, it's one of these situations where it's like, we need to be able to show that we're a faster moving company than this. And, that there's supposedly an initiative within the company. It's like, look, we waste too much time during the development period. We waste too much time during the construction period. We need to reclaim the higher ground. We need to do something fast. We need
make a
to
decision and move. Yes.
Yeah, and of course,
I'm trying to think of whether Hannah will be out of college by the time. No, I'm not joking, because it was announced. I remember Hannah and I were sitting at a Starbucks together.
Yep.
And she was in middle school when it was announced.
Yeah.
And she may be if she plays her cards right, she may be out of college by the time it's built.
Now, and again, the irony is, in Walt's day, I mean, the Matterhorn was built in 9 months. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, there's a lot of Imagineers that wouldn't let their kids go on the Matterhorn because it was built in 9 months. But it's just the whole notion of, how did we become this company where it takes forever to build anything?
Yeah.
And particularly in this world where everything is instantaneous, how come we can't do things faster? So that they're very sensitive to this, and they're trying to pick the project that they can do quickly and wow people. But of course, Disney being Disney, they're 6 weeks into the meetings about, what can we pick that we can do fast?
Exactly. So, it'll be another year till it gets done, till it gets good.
There you go.
That's funny.